Today we'll be going through some excerpts from Marcus Bohe's book, Winners Never Quit. I think this will resonate with a lot of our listeners, a lot of entrepreneurs,
Mhm.
a lot of business owners, and folks just trying to navigate the ups and downs of, life in general. Are you ready to get into it?
Absolutely. I'm excited to unpack some of Bohi's wisdom. He's got some pretty incredible stories.
Yeah, and that's what I love about this book. It's not just the typical, motivational fluff.
Right.
It's like he gets into the really specific mindsets and habits
hmm
and even like seemingly insignificant experiences that shaped his journey.
Yeah, what I find really fascinating is that he goes beyond just saying believe in yourself. He
Uh-huh.
really gets into the nitty-gritty of what it takes to cultivate that winner's mindset and actually put it into practice.
So let's start with his upbringing, because it seems like that played a big role.
For sure.
He grew up in Switzerland, right?
Yeah.
And he had this unique mix of structure and freedom. Like he talks about Boy Scouts, but without parental supervision, which sounds intense.
Yeah, Swiss-style Boy Scouts, I guess.
And mandatory army service,
Right.
but then also being allowed to bike like 30 kilometers from home as a kid.
Yeah, it's this interesting blend of being given responsibility, but also having that freedom to explore and make your own decisions.
It makes you wonder how much those early experiences shape our comfort with risk, our leadership style later on.
Totally.
Yeah.
Even our belief in our ability to achieve things. Like, take Bohi's rabbit fur business as a teenager.
Wait, rabbit fur?
Yeah.
Now that's a side hustle I haven't heard before.
He saw a demand for rabbit fur and meat, so he turned his aunt's chicken coop into this whole rabbit breeding operation.
That's amazing.
He even partnered with a neighbor to handle the less appealing parts of the business, and they split the profits.
It's like a mini MBA in resourcefulness and partnership right there at like 15 years old or something.
Exactly. And that theme of surrounding yourself with the right people is huge throughout the book.
Yeah, because I imagine being a pioneer like that, you attract a lot of naysayers.
Oh, absolutely. He talks about how when you're trying to do something new, especially something that challenges the status quo, you're going to face resistance. So having that supportive network is crucial.
It makes you think about those pivotal moments where you need that extra push from the people around you to keep going.
Like when Bohi and his wife decided to modernize their family's pharmacies back in the 1980s.
Oh yeah, that was a pretty bold move at the time.
Definitely. They faced a lot of skepticism and pushback from people who were used to doing things the old way, but they had each other's unwavering belief to get them through those changes.
And the way they modernized was fascinating. They implemented like computerized cash registers and barcode scanners long before those things were mainstream.
He was ahead of his time in so many ways. He understood that data was the future of retail, and he wasn't afraid to invest in those technologies, even when others thought it was unnecessary.
It's that foresight that sets someone like Bohe apart. It's not just about having a good idea, it's about seeing the potential before anyone else does.
And having the courage to act on it. He wasn't just a dreamer, he was a doer. He had that passion and tenacity to bring his vision to life.
So imagine being Bohe in the 80s, trying to convince his pharmacy staff, some of whom had been doing things the same way for decades, to adopt this new technology.
Yeah, that must have taken serious conviction.
I can't even imagine the resistance he must have faced.
But he knew it was the right move for the business, and it ultimately paid off.
He was able to not only improve efficiency, but also gain valuable insights into customer buying patterns, inventory management, all that stuff.
He even joined the advisory board of a tech company to help shape these systems that revolutionized the industry.
That's what I find so inspiring about Bohe.
Mhm.
He wasn't just content with running his own businesses. He wanted to contribute to the bigger picture, to help shape the future of the industry.
It's that constant desire to learn and improve that sets him apart. He's always pushing the boundaries, never settling for the status quo.
And speaking of pushing boundaries,
Yeah.
he's got this interesting three-step process he uses for making those tough decisions.
Oh, yeah, his decision-making framework.
Yeah, that's what I want to get into next, because it seems like that's a key part of his success.
Absolutely. It's how he avoids making those rash moves that can lead to regret down the line.
So break it down for us. What are those 3 steps?
The first step is due diligence. He emphasizes the importance of not rushing into anything. It's about doing your research, analyzing the situation, gathering as much data as possible before making a move.
So don't just leap based on gut instinct. Get the facts first.
Exactly. Then step 2, consult with experts. Bohe firmly believes no one succeeds in a vacuum. You need to find people who've been there, done that, and can offer valuable insights based on their experience.
Okay, so get a second or third or fourth opinion from people you trust.
Right. It's about tapping into the collective wisdom of those around you.
Makes sense. So you've done your research, you've gotten advice from experts. What's the final step?
Considering all potential outcomes, both the good and the bad, Bohe stresses the importance of thinking through the ripple effects of your decisions, not just the immediate results.
It's like doing a pre-mortem for every choice. Asking yourself, what could go wrong? And how would we handle it if it did?
He provides some compelling examples of this in the book. Like when choosing a location for a business, he encourages entrepreneurs to not just settle for the first space they like.
Yeah, go check out multiple sites, do your due diligence.
Exactly. Analyze the demographics, think about accessibility, and really consider all the factors before making that commitment.
He also had that story about helping a snack bar company avoid a potentially disastrous mistake by simply testing small batches of their product overseas before committing to a full product launch.
Right. It's about mitigating risks and gathering as much information as possible before making those big decisions.
That blend of gut instinct with careful analysis, that seems to be his superpower.
It's a powerful combination. He's not afraid to take risks, but he's also incredibly strategic about it.
He doesn't just jump into the deep end. He carefully considers the depth of the water first.
Exactly. And that brings us to another key point, Bohe's philosophy on challenges. He argues that avoiding those challenges is actually the worst thing you can do.
Because problems just fester and multiply when you ignore them, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
He believes in confronting them head on and turning those lemons into lemonade.
And he's speaking from experience too, right? Didn't he have a pretty crazy situation with his snowboard factory?
Oh, yeah. The owner of his factory literally vanished, leaving production hanging in the balance.
What?
Yeah, it was a total disaster. But instead of panicking, Bohe jumped on a plane to Canada within 24 hours to find a new factory.
No way. Seriously.
Yep. He took decisive action and found a solution. He didn't let the fear paralyze him.
That's incredible. Talk about thinking on your feet.
And it wasn't a one-time thing either. He dealt with faulty shoe materials, shipping nightmares, you name it. He always had that hands-on approach to solving problems.
It's like he thrives in those high-pressure situations.
Yeah.
He doesn't shy away from the chaos. He embraces it.
And that's a valuable lesson for all of us. How do we reframe problems as opportunities? How do we develop that resilience and resourcefulness to navigate those inevitable challenges?
Bohe challenges us to brainstorm multiple solutions, even those that seem crazy at first, rather than getting stuck in that woe is me mindset.
Exactly. It's about shifting our perspective and looking for creative ways to overcome obstacles.
So next time you hit a wall, don't just panic. Ask yourself, what are 3 crazy ways I could get over, under, or around this?
You might be surprised at the solutions you come up with.
I love that. So we talked about Bohe's upbringings, his early entrepreneurial ventures, his decision-making process, his approach to challenges. But what about his leadership style? Because that's a big part of his success as well, right?
Absolutely. He attributes much of his understanding of leadership to his time in the Swiss Boy Scouts, which, as we know, was a pretty intense experience.
No hand-holding parents, just you and your fellow scouts figuring things out together.
Exactly. It was a crash course in teamwork, problem-solving, and leadership.
He makes a clear distinction between 2 types of leaders in the book: those who inspire and elevate their teams, and those who drain energy and stifle progress.
And he's experienced both ends of the spectrum. He's seen firsthand the impact that a toxic leader can have on a team.
He argues that the wrong team can be incredibly destructive. Negative attitudes spread like wildfire, impacting not just performance, but also client satisfaction and the overall health of the organization.
He believes that culture trumps strategy every time.
Culture eats strategy for breakfast, as they say.
Exactly. He prioritizes finding people who are the right fit for the team, even over those with specific technical skills. After all, you can teach skills, but it's much harder to change someone's fundamental attitude and approach.
And this isn't just a theoretical concept for Bohe. His sons are now entrepreneurs themselves, putting these lessons into practice as they build their own companies.
It's like a family legacy of leadership wisdom being passed down.
Which raises an important question for all of us. Is your current team lifting you up or holding you back? What one change could you make to improve the team dynamic and create a more supportive and productive environment?
It's a question worth pondering because the people we surround ourselves with have a huge impact on our success and our overall well-being.
And that leads us to Bohe's next point. Be a leader of the people, not just the brand.
He's advocating for a more human-centered approach to leadership.
It's the classic people over profits dilemma. It's a noble goal, but easier said than done in the real world.
Right. He acknowledges that temptation to prioritize the bottom line above all else, but he argues that it ultimately backfires.
Because happy, engaged employees are more productive, more loyal, and ultimately contribute to a more successful business.
Exactly, and there's plenty of research to back that up. He was surprisingly progressive with employee benefits at his pharmacies, even back in the 1980s. He implemented things that many businesses are just now catching up to.
Like what? What kind of things did he do?
Well, one of his more unconventional perks was splitting the team for remote work days to save employees money on gas during price spikes. This was long before remote work became commonplace, so it was quite forward-thinking at the time.
He was ahead of his time in so many ways. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Of course, Bohe also talks about the challenges of dealing with dishonesty, conflict, and other difficult situations that inevitably arise in any business.
He believes in turning those challenges into learning experiences and using them to strengthen the team's resilience.
He even shares that rather amusing story about a cultural sensitivity mishap with an employee in Hong Kong.
Oh yeah, the caps lock incident.
It highlights the importance of understanding different perspectives and being willing to learn from our mistakes, especially in today's increasingly globalized world.
He's all about creating a work environment where people feel valued, respected, and empowered to do their best.
So we've got Bohe empowering his employees, fostering a strong team culture. But how does that translate into long-term business success? How do you balance taking care of your people with achieving your goals and staying competitive?
That's where his emphasis on mission comes in. He argues that staying mission-driven is essential for making sound decisions, attracting top talent, and building lasting customer loyalty.
So it's not just about making a profit, it's about having a higher purpose that guides everything you do.
Exactly. He cautions against taking shortcuts for quick wins, emphasizing that those tactics can ultimately damage your brand and compromise your values.
He chose to prioritize quality and long-term sustainability over rapid growth at his action sports company, which ultimately helped him build a stronger and more resilient brand.
And he uses the Thomas Shoes one-for-one model as a great example of a purpose-driven business that's managed to thrive.
Didn't Thomas Shoes run into some financial trouble a while back, though?
They did, but their mission allowed them to adapt and evolve. Instead of giving away a pair of shoes for every pair sold, they shifted to donating a third of their profits to grassroots organizations.
Oh, interesting. So they were able to pivot while still staying true to their core values.
Exactly. And it allowed them to weather the storm and continue making a positive impact.
That's a great example of how a strong mission can provide guidance and stability even in the face of adversity.
It's not just about having a catchy mission statement. It's about weaving that purpose into every decision you make.
Bohe identifies 3 key benefits of a strong mission: attracting top talent, building customer loyalty, and securing strategic partnerships.
Right. People want to work for, buy from, and collaborate with companies that stand for something meaningful.
It all comes back to that idea. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
Exactly. And he even challenges the listener to take a moment and write down both their company's mission statement and their own personal mission statement. Then ask yourself, how well do they align?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm going to have to do that myself. It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and lose sight of the bigger picture.
It's a simple but powerful exercise for gaining clarity and ensuring you're living your values both personally and professionally.
That's something I'm definitely going to try. I love that. So we've talked about mission-driven business, but what about setbacks? Because let's be real, even with the best intentions and strategies, challenges are bound to happen.
Absolutely. And Bohe's philosophy on setbacks is incredibly insightful. He argues that those failures are not the end of the story, but rather invaluable feedback.
There are opportunities to learn, adapt, and come back stronger.
Exactly. And he's had his fair share of challenges. We've already talked about the disappearing factory owner, but he also faced numerous other obstacles, like melted logos on snowboard bindings in transit, a shoe factory using unapproved materials, shipping chaos that forced him to build his own warehouse. The list goes on.
He certainly didn't have it easy.
But he approached each of these setbacks with a solution-oriented mindset. He didn't dwell on the problem, he focused on finding a way forward.
And that's what sets him apart. He doesn't let those challenges defeat him. He uses them as fuel to become stronger and more resilient.
He believes in confronting problems head-on, not just delegating them away. He sees it as a way to build leadership credibility and often leads to faster, more effective solutions.
And sometimes those setbacks can even lead to unexpected opportunities. Didn't he share a story about receiving a fateful phone call at the airport?
Yes, he was about to board a flight when he got a voicemail that eventually led to his company being acquired.
Talk about being in the right place at the right time. I guess sometimes those setbacks can be blessings in disguise.
It's a great reminder that persistence, a positive attitude, and a willingness to answer that call, even when it comes at an inconvenient time, can turn things around in surprising ways.
It seems the universe rewards those who are prepared and ready to seize the moment.
Absolutely. But Bohe warns against falling into what he calls the winner's trap.
Okay, this is the second time you've mentioned the winner's trap and you've got me hooked. What exactly is this trap and how can we avoid it?
It's the danger of believing you've arrived and then closing yourself off to new ideas and growth. When you achieve a certain level of success, it's easy to become complacent and surround yourself with people who only tell you what you want to hear.
So you're basically trapped by your own past accomplishments, blinded by your own success.
In a way, yes. Bohe emphasizes that continuous learning is essential even for experienced leaders. He's a huge advocate for mentorship and believes in having multiple mentors, each with their own unique expertise.
He actually recommends having 5 or more mentors.
I know, it sounds like a lot, but
It does sound like a lot, but I guess the more diverse perspectives you can get, the better.
exactly. It's about constantly challenging your assumptions and seeking out new knowledge.
Bohe himself is a testament to lifelong learning. He's constantly seeking out new knowledge, challenging his own assumptions, and pushing himself to grow. He even addressed some personal issues through a seminar demonstrating his willingness to continuously improve himself, both personally and professionally.
And let's not forget that he negotiated his own pay raise as a teenager while doing an agricultural apprenticeship.
The guy clearly has a knack for self-advocacy and doesn't shy away from challenges.
He embodies that winners never quit mentality, not just in business, but in all aspects of his life.
His story really emphasizes that self-belief and a growth mindset are just as crucial as any business skill.
Absolutely. So we've covered a lot of ground here. Early influences, the importance of being a pioneer, making smart decisions, building a strong team culture, staying mission-driven, reframing setbacks, and the importance of continuous growth. But where does our personal life fit into all of this? How do we balance all of these demands and achieve that elusive work-life balance everyone talks about? That's the final piece of the puzzle that Bohe addresses in the book. Syncing your personal and professional life. He acknowledges that the traditional concept of work-life balance is often unrealistic, especially in today's hyper-connected world, where the lines between work and personal time are increasingly blurred.
Yeah, the pandemic really threw a wrench in that for a lot of people. Suddenly, work and home life were completely intertwined.
Exactly. So Bohe proposes a shift to work-life synergy, which is about aligning your values and actions across all areas of your life. It's about finding a way to integrate your work and personal life so they complement each other rather than constantly competing for your time and attention.
I like that work-life synergy. That sounds much more achievable than trying to perfectly balance two separate spheres. But how do we actually make that happen? How do we move from this idea of balance to this idea of synergy? What does that look like in practice?
He offers some practical tactics for making that shift. Setting boundaries is crucial. That could mean anything from learning to say no more often to prioritizing tasks ruthlessly and delegating whenever possible.
What about making time for those things we love to do but always seem to put on the back burner? You know, those hobbies and activities that recharge our batteries but often get sacrificed when work gets busy.
He's a big believer in indulging in hobbies, whether it's reading, hiking, spending time with loved ones, or pursuing some creative endeavor. Those activities are essential for our well-being and make us more effective in all areas of life. We shouldn't feel guilty about making time for things that bring us joy and help us recharge.
He also talks about the importance of being present in each moment,
Mm-hmm.
putting down the phone, closing the laptop, and fully engaging with whatever you're doing, whether it's a work meeting or dinner with your family.
It's about mindfulness and intentionality, really. Making a conscious effort to be fully present rather than constantly multitasking or letting our minds wander to our to-do list.
And of course, self-care is essential. Getting enough sleep, exercising regularly, eating nutritious foods all contribute to our overall well-being and resilience. These are not luxuries. They're necessities for anyone who wants to thrive both personally and professionally.
He's very open about how his wife Sandy has been instrumental in helping him prioritize his well-being over the years. He credits her with keeping him grounded and reminding him to take care of himself even when he's caught up in the whirlwind of running a business.
It's a good reminder that we don't have to do this alone. Having a supportive partner, friend, or mentor can make all the difference.
And speaking of giving back, Bohe also emphasizes the importance of finding ways to contribute to our communities.
Whether it's through volunteering philanthropy, Or simply being a good neighbor.
Exactly. He believes that giving back provides perspective, adds fulfillment, and connects us to something larger than ourselves. He's found that it enriches both his personal and professional life.
So it's not just about taking care of ourselves, but also about extending that care outwards and making a positive impact on the world around us. It's a beautiful way to connect all these ideas together.
It's a holistic approach to success, recognizing that our work and our lives are interconnected. We can't compartmentalize these different aspects of ourselves. What we do in one area inevitably affects the other.
And it seems like Bohe has found a way to integrate all these principles into a truly fulfilling and meaningful life.
Now let's rewind a bit and explore some of the experiences that shaped his resilient and resourceful mindset, starting with his adventurous first solo trip to North America.
Ah, yes, the North America trip. This is before he met his wife, Sandy, right?
That's right. This was back when Bohe was in his early 20s. I think this trip was a real crash course in adaptability and problem solving for him.
Yeah, it sounds like it. He faced some pretty unexpected challenges, from a tight budget to a near-death experience with appendicitis, all while navigating a new continent. It's a real testament to his winners never quit attitude, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. He and a friend embarked on this journey with very limited funds, forcing them to be resourceful and make every dollar count.
So how did they manage? Did they, like, hitchhike or something?
Yeah, they actually bought an old Chevy for a few $100s. But they quickly realized that traveling on a shoestring budget meant embracing a minimalist approach.
So lots of camping, I'm guessing.
Most nights, yeah. They even resorted to sneaking into motels for showers when campgrounds lacked proper facilities.
Well, that's certainly one way to stretch a travel budget.
They had to get creative.
But what about the appendicitis? That sounds incredibly serious. Where were they when that happened?
They were driving up the East Coast when Bohe started experiencing severe abdominal pain.
Oh, no.
Luckily, they made it to a friend's house in Scarsdale, New York, where his friend's mother, a nurse, recognized the symptoms of appendicitis.
Wow. Talk about being in the right place at the right time.
I know, right? It could have been much worse. They rushed him to the hospital, and it turned out his appendix was on the verge of bursting.
That's scary.
Yeah.
So they were able to operate in time.
Yes, thankfully. He underwent emergency surgery and made a full recovery.
That's a relief. It highlights the importance of having a strong support network even when you're far from home. I mean, Bohe's friend's mother, the nurse, played a crucial role in his recovery. It makes you think about the people we surround ourselves with and how they can impact our lives in unexpected ways.
Absolutely. We never know when we might need that helping hand or that timely intervention. And it's a testament to Bohe's resilience, too. Even in a foreign country battling a serious medical condition, he remained determined and focused on getting better.
He didn't let it derail his whole trip.
Not at all. In fact, he was back on the road as soon as he was cleared by the doctor.
That's incredible. And they still had the Alaska Highway ahead of them, right?
Oh, yeah, they were determined to make it all the way. And that's where the chicken wire incident comes in.
The chicken wire incident.
Yeah. Knowing they'd be traversing thousands of miles of gravel roads, they decided to prepare their car accordingly.
So what did they do? Reinforce the tires or something?
Even better, they welded a metal frame and chicken wire to the front of their Chevy.
Wait, seriously? Chicken wire?
Yep. This DIY contraption served as a protective shield for the radiator and headlights from all the flying rocks.
That's brilliant. It's a testament to Bohe's ingenuity and resourcefulness. He didn't let limited resources deter him. He found a way to overcome the challenge using whatever materials were available.
It's a great example of that can-do spirit. And that resourcefulness would be tested again a few years later when Bohe was diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease.
Oh, wow. That must have been devastating news. How did he handle that?
It was a difficult time, of course, but Bohe refused to let this diagnosis define him. He fought back with everything he had, drawing strength from his faith, his family, and a rather unexpected tool: mental imagery.
Mental imagery. Tell me more about how that played a role in his recovery.
He worked with a psychologist who taught him techniques for visualizing positive outcomes and managing the stress and anxiety that often accompany a serious illness.
So he was basically training his mind to focus on healing.
Exactly. He learned to create a positive internal environment and use his imagination to support his recovery.
That's fascinating. It shows the power of the mind-body connection and how our thoughts can influence our physical well-being. It also highlights the importance of seeking support and utilizing all the tools available to us, whether it's medical treatment therapy or alternative approaches like mental imagery.
Bohe credits this experience with teaching him valuable lessons about resilience, perseverance, and the importance of a positive mindset. He learned to focus on what he could control and not dwell on the things he couldn't.
It's a powerful reminder that we all have inner strength that we can tap into during challenging times, and his story is a great example of that. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about his business ventures. How did he go from breeding rabbits to building multi-million-dollar companies?
One of the key factors is his willingness to be a pioneer. He's not afraid to try new things, even if it means going against the grain and challenging conventional wisdom. We've already touched on his early adoption of technology in his pharmacies, but this pioneering spirit extends to his other ventures as well.
He also had some interesting experiences with his action sports company, right? Wasn't he really passionate about snowboarding?
Oh, absolutely. He was determined to build high-quality snowboard bindings and boots, even if it meant sacrificing short-term profits for long-term sustainability.
So he was in it for the long haul. He wasn't just trying to make a quick buck.
Exactly. He believed that quality would ultimately win out over quantity. He refused to cut corners or compromise his vision, even when faced with pressure to reduce costs and increase production speed.
That's admirable. It's a refreshing perspective in today's fast-paced, profit-driven business world. It's a reminder that sometimes slowing down and focusing on quality can be the key to building a lasting and successful brand.
He understood that customers appreciate value and they're willing to pay a premium for products they can trust, and his commitment to excellence extended beyond the products themselves. He also emphasized building a strong brand identity that resonated with his target market.
So it wasn't just about making great products. It was about creating a brand that people connected with.
Exactly. He recognized that consumers are drawn to companies with a clear vision and a commitment to values that align with their own.
It's about creating a brand that stands for something more than just making a profit.
Right. It's about building a community, fostering a sense of belonging, and connecting with customers on a deeper level.
I like that. And it seems like Bohi was really good at that. He had that knack for building authentic connections with people.
He believed that authenticity and transparency were crucial for building trust and loyalty. He wasn't afraid to share his story, his challenges, and his triumphs with his customers.
It makes him more relatable, more human.
Exactly, and that resonates with people. But while his pioneering spirit and commitment to quality are admirable, we can't overlook his strategic decision-making process. He credits much of his success to his three-step framework for evaluating opportunities and making choices.
Right. That three-step process you mentioned earlier, due diligence, expert consultation, and considering all outcomes, sounds like a solid approach to decision-making. Can you give us some specific examples of how he applied this process in his business?
Sure. Let's start with the example of choosing a location for a business. Bohi stresses the importance of not rushing into a lease or purchase agreement simply because a space is available or seems appealing at first glance.
So you're saying don't just jump at the first opportunity that comes along.
Right. Take your time, do your research. He encourages entrepreneurs to conduct thorough due diligence.
So what does that entail?
It's about visiting multiple sites, analyzing the demographics of the area, considering foot traffic, accessibility, parking, proximity to competitors, and all the factors that might impact the success of a business in that location.
It's about gathering as much information as possible before making that commitment.
Exactly. And once he's gathered all the relevant data, he doesn't rely solely on his own judgment. He seeks out expert consultation.
So he's talking to real estate agents, business consultants, people with experience in that particular industry.
Precisely. He taps into the knowledge and experience of others who can offer valuable insights and perspectives that he might have overlooked.
It's like that saying, two heads are better than one.
Exactly. And then the final step is considering all potential outcomes, both positive and negative.
So it's not just about focusing on the best case scenario. You have to be prepared for the worst case scenario as well.
Right. It's about asking those tough questions. What could go wrong? How would we handle it? What are the best case and worst case scenarios?
He's essentially doing a risk assessment for every major decision, weighing the potential rewards against the potential downsides.
Exactly. It's a very strategic and calculated approach. And he shared a great example of how this process helped him prevent a costly mistake for a snack bar company.
Oh, tell me about that.
The company was considering launching a new product line, but was hesitant about the potential risks involved in a full-scale production run.
I can imagine. That's a big investment.
Exactly. So Bohi advised them to test the market first by producing small batches of the product and sending them overseas for consumer feedback.
So kind of like a test run in a different market to gauge consumer response before going all in.
Precisely. And it proved to be a wise decision. The feedback from overseas consumers revealed some issues with the product's taste and texture, allowing the company to make adjustments before investing in a large-scale launch.
Wow, that's a great example of how a small test can potentially save a company a lot of money and headaches.
It's a testament to the power of careful planning and thoughtful analysis.
And this approach, this blend of gut instinct with thorough analysis, is evident throughout Bohi's career. It's how he navigated the complex world of business from his early ventures to his later successes. He wasn't just lucky, he was strategic.
Absolutely. He understood the importance of balancing intuition with data-driven decision-making.
It's a great lesson for all of us. We don't have to choose between our gut feelings and the facts. We can use both to make informed decisions.
Exactly. But even with the best planning and preparation, unexpected challenges are bound to arise, and Bohi's philosophy on confronting those challenges is both inspiring and practical.
He doesn't shy away from them, that's for sure.
He's a firm believer that avoiding problems only makes them worse. Challenges are inevitable, and it's how we choose to respond to them that defines our character and determines our success.
He's got plenty of experience to back that up. We've already talked about the disappearing factory owner, but he also faced numerous other challenges, from faulty materials to shipping nightmares.
And in each of those situations, he chose to confront the problem head-on rather than trying to sweep it under the rug.
I'm particularly interested in that story about his snowboard factory. When the owner vanished, leaving production in limbo, Bohi didn't panic or give up. Instead, he booked a flight to Canada within 24 hours, determined to find a new factory and keep the business running.
That's a perfect example of his proactive approach. He didn't just sit back and wait for someone else to fix the problem. He took charge and found a solution.
He didn't just delegate the problem either. He rolled up his sleeves and got involved, demonstrating true leadership. He faced the challenge head-on, which ultimately earned him the respect of his team and solidified his position as a capable and decisive leader.
Exactly. And this hands-on approach extended beyond just that one incident. He was actively involved in solving all sorts of production issues, from faulty shoe materials to logistical nightmares. He didn't shy away from getting his hands dirty and figuring things out.
His approach is a great reminder that true leaders don't just sit in their offices and delegate tasks. They're willing to get involved to understand the challenges firsthand and to work alongside their teams to find solutions.
It's about leading by example, and Bohi was a master of that. He also encourages us to reframe problems as opportunities for growth and innovation. Instead of getting bogged down in negativity or blame, he suggests asking ourselves, what are 3 potential solutions, no matter how unconventional or seemingly outlandish?
It's about shifting our perspective from victim to victor, from problem to opportunity.
Exactly. And this leads us to another crucial element of Bohi's leadership style: his unwavering belief in the power of people. He truly believes that a company's greatest asset is its people. Happy, engaged employees are the foundation of a successful and sustainable business. He instilled this belief in his sons, who are now entrepreneurs themselves, carrying on this legacy of valuing their teams.
Like a family tradition.
It is. And he didn't just talk the talk, he walked the walk. He implemented some pretty progressive employee benefits at his pharmacies way back in the 1980s, long before such practices were commonplace.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier. Like, what kind of things did he do?
Well, for one, he offered profit sharing, so employees had a direct stake in the company's success.
That's pretty forward-thinking for that time.
It was. He also provided generous vacation time and health insurance benefits, things that were pretty uncommon back then, especially in the retail industry.
He really seemed to understand that taking care of his employees wasn't just ethical, it was good business sense.
Yeah.
It created a loyal and dedicated workforce.
Exactly. And he was always looking for ways to improve their working conditions and make their jobs more enjoyable, like splitting the team for remote work days during gas price spikes. That was unheard of back then.
Yeah, he was way ahead of the curve on that one. It shows that he genuinely cared about his employees' well-being.
He did. And it wasn't just about offering perks either. He fostered a culture of trust and respect where employees felt comfortable sharing their ideas and taking ownership of their work.
He gave them a voice.
Exactly. He believed in transparency and open communication. He wasn't afraid to share challenges with his team and involve them in finding solutions. This collaborative approach created a sense of ownership and fostered a more engaged and productive workforce. He even turned difficult situations like dealing with dishonesty into learning experiences for the entire team.
I remember him talking about that cultural sensitivity mishap with an employee in Hong Kong.
Sure.
The caps lock incident.
Oh, yeah. That was a classic example of how he used a mistake as a teaching moment. He didn't just reprimand the employee. He used it as an opportunity to educate everyone about cultural differences and the importance of clear communication.
It's all about turning those lemons into lemonade.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And it all ties back to his belief in the importance of building a strong, positive company culture.
Hmm.
It's not just about having a fancy mission statement. It's about creating an environment where people feel connected to a shared purpose and motivated to contribute to something bigger than themselves.
It's about fostering that sense of community and belonging.
Right. And that's where his emphasis on mission-driven business comes in. He argues that a clear, compelling mission is essential for attracting top talent, building customer loyalty, and guiding strategic decisions. It's about having a higher purpose that goes beyond just making a profit.
He uses the Time S Shoes one-for-one model as a great example of a purpose-driven business. They faced financial challenges, but their commitment to giving back and making a positive impact allowed them to adapt and evolve while staying true to their core values.
Exactly. Their mission became their guiding principle. It helped them navigate through turbulent times and come out stronger on the other side.
It's proof that a strong mission can provide stability and direction, even in the face of adversity.
He identifies 3 key benefits of being mission-driven: attracting top talent, building customer loyalty, and securing strategic partnerships.
Because people want to be part of something meaningful. They want to work for, buy from, and collaborate with companies that share their values.
Right. It's about creating a win-win situation for everyone involved. He even challenges listeners to write down their company's mission statement and their personal mission statement and then compare them.
To see if they're aligned.
Exactly. It's a simple but powerful exercise for gaining clarity and ensuring that you're living your values both personally and professionally.
Okay, so we've talked about building a strong team, fostering a positive culture, staying mission-driven. But what about setbacks? Because no matter how well prepared we are, challenges are bound to happen.
Absolutely. And Bohi's perspective on setbacks is incredibly refreshing. He views them not as failures, but as opportunities for learning and growth.
He's got that growth mindset. He sees those challenges as a chance to improve and become more resilient.
Exactly. Remember all those stories about the melted logos on the snowboard bindings, the shoe factory using unapproved materials, the shipping chaos that forced him to build his own warehouse?
He had a lot of those what now moments.
He did, but instead of panicking or giving up, he used those experiences to learn, adapt, and improve his business.
I love that story about the disappearing factory owner. He didn't waste time complaining or blaming others. He hopped on a plane to Canada and found a new factory. Talk about taking action.
It's a perfect example of his problem-solving skills and his willingness to go the extra mile.
And sometimes those setbacks can even lead to unexpected opportunities, like that time he got a phone call at the airport that led to his company being acquired.
It's a reminder that we never know what's around the corner. And sometimes those challenges can lead us down a path we never expected.
So embrace the detours. You never know where they might lead you.
Exactly. But Bohi does offer one word of caution. He warns against falling into what he calls the winner's trap.
Ah, yes, the winner's trap. This is like the 3rd time you've mentioned it. What is it exactly?
It's that dangerous tendency to become complacent and closed off to new ideas after achieving a certain level of success.
So you get comfortable and start resting on your laurels.
In a way, yes. You start pushing yourself to grow and learn. You surround yourself with yes men who tell you what you want to hear instead of challenging your assumptions.
And that can be a slippery slope.
It can. Bodhi emphasizes that continuous learning is crucial even for experienced leaders. He's a huge advocate for mentorship and believes in seeking out diverse perspectives from multiple mentors, each with their own unique expertise. He even suggests having 5 or more mentors.
Wow, that's a lot of mentors. But I guess the more the merrier, right?
Exactly. It's about constantly expanding your knowledge base and challenging your own perspectives.
And Bohi's a great example of that. He's always reading, learning, attending seminars. He never stops seeking new information and insights.
He's a true lifelong learner. And finally, he emphasizes the importance of syncing our personal and professional lives. He acknowledges that the traditional concept of work-life balance is often unrealistic and advocates for a shift towards work-life synergy instead.
Right. It's not about trying to separate those two aspects of our lives, but rather finding ways to integrate them so they complement each other.
He offers practical tactics for achieving this synergy, such as setting clear boundaries, making time for hobbies, being present in each moment, and prioritizing self-care.
It's about creating a life that feels whole and balanced.
Exactly. And he's very open about how his wife Sandy has played a crucial role in helping him maintain that balance over the years.
It's a reminder that we don't have to do it all alone. Having a strong support system, whether it's a partner, family, or friends, can make all the difference.
And speaking of giving back, Bohe also encourages us to find ways to contribute to our communities and make a positive impact on the world.
He believes that giving back is not only beneficial for others, but also incredibly rewarding for ourselves. It gives us perspective, purpose, and a sense of connection to something larger than ourselves.
It's about recognizing that our success is interconnected with the well-being of others. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Marcus Bohe's Winners Never Quit, I think the key takeaway is that success is not just about achieving our goals, but also about living a life of purpose, meaning, and contribution. It's about cultivating those qualities that allow us to overcome challenges, make a positive impact on the world, and ultimately leave a legacy that extends far beyond ourselves.
It's about embracing the journey with all its ups and downs and never giving up on our dreams. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring. And remember, winners never quit. So keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to make a difference.